Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty here on EA Sports College Football 25, where we've reached our bye week of year number 4. And so today is a good time to take our first look at recruiting. We are 7 weeks into the 2027 season. We've gotten a few commits. There's been some movement on the board, and now that we've kind of gotten our feet wet, so we've kind of targeted who will be our main guys that we're going after this season. So we're excited for this one and to take a look at some prospects. Make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. As we'll take a look at 22 prospects today, I'll kind of give some input into each of the ones that we are targeting with points currently. Those who I have on my board with no points, we're not really going to take a look at too much today. We'll probably see them towards the end of the season. And then kind of give a little bit of background for each prospect and get to learn a little bit more about them, because these could be the future Gamecocks or the future opponents of South Carolina. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into recruiting so far. Before we jump into the guys that we are targeting, currently we are the 20th ranked class. We have 4 commits, 1 5-star, a 4-star, and 2 3-stars. And the guys that we have thus far, the top guy is Earl Groupie, the 5-star from Brentwood, Tennessee, who we beat out Tennessee actually 4 to go get him. He is a run stopper, and we've seen our defensive line take mightily a jump this year, and he should just be another guy to the puzzle. 84 block shed, 76 speed, 85 tackle, with 82 hit power, 81 pursuit. I mean, this guy is a beast with an 87 strength. The only thing low right now is his awareness, and that is obviously going to get better with time. He is the 4th best defensive end in the country, 28th ranked national prospect, and he is here in South Carolina. The 4-star that we have is right guard Deron Eberle from Blackshear, Georgia. We took a look at playing some left guard this year, so he's more of a pass protector, but he will maybe move to right guard. We might keep him at that left spot. Very much a pass specialist, 83, 81, 79 are his pass blocking splits, as you can see. Run blocking is a 67, so it's a little bit lower. However, his impact is a 75. Could come around with time, but another solid guy to add to that offensive line, which is very top class heavy or upper class heavy. Then we got a couple of 3-stars who committed almost immediately. Athlete John Telfort from Columbia, South Carolina, right here, a hometown kid, who is a run stopper athlete. He's probably going to play some linebacker at 6'2", 237. He's got great speed. I am curious, though, to see what some of his other traits are, because, I mean, he can maybe play some safety with that speed. You know, his block shedding is not the best, so I'm not sure entirely about that. Maybe would like to see some of his hands. I know 237 is a big wide receiver, but I'd like to get him more involved. And, you know, he has a 90 speed, which is great out of the gate, but he'll probably settle into a linebacker, probably middle linebacker. And the other guy we have commit is 3-star Pat Colombo from Lawrence, South Carolina, a tight end, who is actually more of a receiving tight end, who actually is a gem as well. So this is nice to have, because Jason Paquette, he's been our star the past couple of seasons, and while I do like what he does in the run game, his hands are spotty at best, so it'd be nice to get a guy like Pat Colombo into the school next year with his 80 catching, 78 in traffic. Not going to block a lot of people, you can see, and we don't know his speed, but it's going to be nice to have a good pass-catching tight end. So those are the 4 guys that we have. Let's get into the guys that we don't have. Starting at the top, we have 2 5-stars that we're going after, and they're both quarterbacks. Quarterbacks could be a big-time get for us this year. Starting off at the very top, athlete Dalvin Madu from Richmond Senior High School in Rockingham, North Carolina. And if you're familiar with that school, that is where Gamecock legend Melvin Ingram went to school. So some history there that we've kind of have. And, well, he's a great player. 32 ranked prospect in the country. Currently in a fight with Duke, NC State, Miami, Ohio, and North Carolina, but it's really just us and Duke currently at the top. 93 speed, 92 throw power. Look at those accuracies. This guy seems like an absolute beast as a quarterback, and was 6'5" nonetheless at 192. He's got great size, maybe a little bit skinny, so we'll see if that comes around, but Dalvin Madu would be a great get at quarterback. And it'd be great to get him, because the other 5-star quarterback we're currently targeting is Monty Sherry from Hamlin High School in Hamlin, Ohio. And he's currently got us locked out because of our play style, and it doesn't look like that's really going to change. So he'll probably be heading to Notre Dame. And that's unfortunate, because he's got great accuracies, 93 throw power, 90 shorts. But I do feel like Madu is the better player, so I would love to bring him in Reno will be a senior next year, but if we bring in a guy like Madu, he could really push him, especially if sometimes these interceptions can't get under control. So those are the 2 5-stars currently. We've already recruited one. It'd be good to get another in Madu. On to the 4-stars. The top 4-star we have on our board is wide receiver 1, Gallegos from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, currently attending Dillard High School. He's actually good friends with Raekwon Wembley. They used to go to the same high school. Raekwon Wembley is a 4-star from Fort Lauderdale that we actually recruited a couple of years ago, and he's made a touchdown grab or 2 for our team. Currently in first place for him as well. He's currently over Miami and NC State. It'd be great to get a guy like Gallegos because he has 98 speed. We have not really been able to find that super fast receiver on the outside. We've tried, but we've been unsuccessful. And he doubles that with great route running. 80 medium, 78 short. Deep isn't very good, but if you can get him one-on-one and he beats his man, you could say goodbye to Juan Gallegos. He could be a real game changer on that offense. So I'd love to bring a guy like him in. That's why he's the top 4-star on my board. Then we have another quarterback, Shaquille Brock from right here in Columbia. He currently attends Irmo High School, which is where former safety Nick Emanwari came from, a first-round draft pick nonetheless a couple of years ago. Currently, he's favoring us over North Carolina and Virginia Tech, so he might not bring in just 1, but 2 quarterbacks in this class. He has 92 throw power, 81 deep, 87 throw on the run, 85 short, 75 medium, 81 speed. Probably more of a pocket passer than Madu, so to speak, but a great quarterback as well. It'd be great to have this abundance of riches at quarterback, and Shaquille Brock is another talented quarterback who I think is being underlooked, and he's also a gem, so why not target him? Andy Everett, onto the defensive side. We talked a lot about the offense. The first defensive guy this time is Andy Everett, a 4-star from Lake Clifton Eastern High School in Baltimore, Maryland. It's kind of a dogfight right now, too. You can see us, North Carolina, and Clemson all in the front spot for Andy Everett. We've had a lot of success at middle linebacker the past 2 years. We've recruited 2 5-star linebackers, and Colby Boyette, who's playing a great role in the team this year, and then we saw us get Perkins last year, who's coming along as a freshman, but Andy Everett would just add even more to that. He has 87 tackle, 93 speed. He can fly around. Zone coverage is a little low, but I think with that speed, that helps a lot, especially with 70 block shed. He's a great athlete, and I think especially if we get him with that gym as an upperclassman, he could really be a difference maker for our team. Back to the offense, Dante LaRue, the 4-star wide receiver from Marietta High School in Marietta, Georgia. That's where the Ojulari brothers are from, BJ and Aziz, who are both in the NFL. Currently out in front for him as well, and he's 95 speed. He's also a route runner. I'd like to get some more of those kind of players in, because I feel like in the years past we relied a lot on Nick Harbor and his deep speed, but I'd like to get some guys who can create separation. That's why we're targeting guys like Gallegos and LaRue this year. I think these are some good wide receivers who can just create that space themselves with some pretty solid speed. The only thing I worry about with LaRue is his hands are not as good as Gallegos, so hopefully those can come around. Right tackle David Fortunato is up next, and he also is at Marietta High School, so he's teammates with Dante LaRue. Hopefully we can get both, but it doesn't look like we will. He's heavily leaning towards the University of Georgia, so we'll probably see him a lot. He is a pass pro. You can see all 3 of those in the 80s. He will protect your sides. Not as good in the run game, though, but, especially that tackle with that great pass blocking. You've seen some of the pass rushers we've had come through this school, and, you need a guy like Fortunato, especially in the SEC, to protect those outsides. Andre Head, back to the wide receivers, another route runner. This guy, though, 5'8", so a little bit smaller. He currently goes to Riverside High School in Jacksonville, Florida. He has 97 speed. He has pretty good route running. He is good in the medium, which is something that LaRue is not. So kind of the opposite player from Dante LaRue. So also favoring him. We currently just passed Florida for the number 1 spot, despite the fact that we lost to the Gators. But hopefully we can hold on to that and win the battle for Andre Head. Right guard Jamie Stevens up next. We're going kind of heavy on the offensive side of the football. Last year we went very heavy on the front 7 on defense. And Jamie Stevens is a guy we kind of discovered late that I like. He's currently at Appalachia High School in Appalachia, Maryland. Alabama, excuse me. He doesn't have a lot of interest. Currently just Auburn and Troy. I'd love to get into this battle. He's a very good finesse guy up the middle, and you can see we like to do a lot of zone runs, a lot of, pulling some guards, and with 89 impact blocking, if you get Stevens out in space at 6'3", 321, watch out. He will deliver some pancakes, which is why I'd like to get Stevens on this team. Safety Raheem LeBourne up next from Sam Houston High School in Arlington, Texas, where Mike Adams, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, went to school. We've been out in front for him for a while, but we've currently been tasked by TCU, so we're trying to steal a player from Texas, so we've added a little bit more points into him. He's got 89 speed, 74 zone coverage, 81 hit power. I think he's more of like a box kind of safety, so to speak. I don't know if he'll necessarily stick at free safety. 61. Well, actually, he might. 61 man coverage is kind of low for a strong safety against tight ends. But I do like LeBourne a lot as well. Kaufman hasn't played that good this year at free safety. Gallen's been good, but he's already getting into his upperclassman year, so I'd like to get some more safety depth with Raheem LeBourne. Next up, wide receiver Trevor Penn, another route runner. You could see the trend. He went to Woodale High School, which is where we recruited Sam Ika in year number 1 of this dynasty, who now transferred away to Middle Tennessee State. Currently in 4th with him. We've been passed by Tennessee, Virginia Tech, and Kentucky has a pretty solid lead. I think this one's definitely an uphill battle, but I do think of the wide receivers we've looked at, he is the bottom of that tier. I mean, he's still a good player, so to speak, but I would definitely target guys like Head, LaRue, and Gallegos ahead of him. But we might see him in the SEC, especially if he goes to Kentucky. Halfback Dalvin Fontaine, the receiving back from Newton High School in Newton, North Carolina, currently behind NC State and Clemson for him. We're in a fight with the Wolfpack and the Tigers for a couple of these players. He's a good receiving back. We've kind of lost out on that since year 1 when we had Raheem Sanders, but I feel like Wade Mann's did a good job in receiving this year, and he's only a redshirt freshman, so halfback's really not much of a need because of Mann and Hajrulahu, who's also a receiving back, so that's why we're not putting a ton of points into him, and we're already behind Clemson and NC State. Next up, a quarterback who has us locked out, Devon Perry from Greensboro, North Carolina, currently favoring Liberty, despite the fact that the Flames have not offered him a scholarship, which is why I thought he'd be a Charlotte 49er. Good player, though, 91 throw power. He's got good accuracy, 76 speeds, pretty decent, but obviously probably will not be coming here because of that play style. Deal breaker. Halfback Ronnie Fatafefi is up next from Wake Forest, North Carolina, currently attending Heritage High School, which is for the former NC State halfback Ricky Pearson Jr. went to high school, so you can see the Wolfpack trying to get another player from that same high school in the form of Roddy Fatafefi. Kind of the same things I said with Fontaine. He's a receiving back, but it's not really our top priority right now. I do like his skill set, though, that 90 speed. He's got good catching, good route running, good change of direction as well. I think he's a good player. If he's still on the board by the time we get some of our key guys to commit, I can see us going back down to Fatafefi and improving that a little bit more. Back to the defense, we haven't talked a lot about that. Linebacker Ricky McPrescott from Malden High School in Malden, South Carolina. Fun fact, that's where Kevin Garnett went to high school. I know he's not a football player, but he's still a legend in the sports world. 6'3", 237. Doesn't have the best zone coverage, though. I think he's more of a, outside linebacker with that tackle and that block shed and that speed. So in the 78 strength, so I think he's more of like a left outside linebacker for us. We offered him a scholarship. We're behind Wake Forest, but I think we could really start to move in for Ricky McPrescott because the Demon Deacons have not offered him a scholarship yet. The only other team that has is Clemson. Right now, a pretty decent lead over them. Last 4-star we're offering points into right now is Isaac Willett from AC Flora High School right here in South Carolina, Columbia. 6 foot, 192. He's an elusive back, and he's got some shiftiness, so that 89 change of direction, 84 juke, 91 acceleration, 91 agility, only 89 speed, though. 84 carrying is a little low, and he's also apparently a bust, so he's not at the top of my board. Looks like right now he's leaning towards the ACC with Duke, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech. So those are all the 4 stars. We have a couple of 3 stars, 6 of them that we'll take a look at. And even though I'm only offering 5 points to these guys, there's some pretty good players here. Defensive tackle Barry Cantrell's up first from Sumter High School in Sumter, South Carolina, a speed rushing defensive tackle. We've been very lucky with the transfer portal on the defensive line. I mean, we have a lot of guys that we've gotten from the transfer portal. Vic Burley, Obena Onwuka up there, Shamik Jones, just to name a few. I know I'm forgetting a few. But it'd be nice to get like an actual developmental guy. I mean, he's a speed rusher at 75, finesse move. with 88 strength, so he can win with some strength. He can win with some speed. That's 75. He's got 75 finesse. I'm a little worried to see what his block shedding is at because I don't see anything about like the run or power moves. But at least that finesse move is pretty promising. We're only competing right now with FIU and East Carolina, so I think that's definitely a winnable battle. That's why I have him as the top 3-star on our board. Kai Magnum up next, a corner from North Myrtle Beach High School in Myrtle Beach, currently trailing East Carolina for him. He has 80 zone despite the bust rate, which is why I like him. I know the 65 man coverage is not very sexy with the 71 press, but that 80 zone, I mean, if you have like an 80 key trait for me, I mean, that's kind of like something I draw to. 89 speed's a little bit low. That's also kind of holding him back, but I'm putting 5 points into it because of that zone coverage, and I do like that a lot. We'll see if we can kind of start to get into this battle with ECU, especially as the season goes along. Then we got another athlete, George Ham from Bowling Springs High School in Bowling Springs, South Carolina. We've had some success with Otis McNitt, the backup tight end you've seen show some flashes this year, is actually from that same high school. And right now we're the only team really in this George Ham race, and that's kind of good because he's also a gem. 6'1", 306. He's pretty agile. The finesse is a little bit low. He's got pretty decent impact blocking and lead block and good strength. He's just a very raw athlete, and I think if we can really hone him in as a lineman, he could get better with some time. He might not blossom until he's like a junior or like a senior, but it's good to have that depth on the team, specifically in the trenches. Next I have next is probably one of the more interesting stories, Athia Kilgo, currently attending Chester High School in Chester, South Carolina. And he has an interesting story because he has not grown up in South Carolina. He actually was born in Scotland before coming over to Chester when he was 12 years old. I mean, 6'4", 215, a big-time guy. You know, he had some promise. He watched one of the London Series games in the UK and fell in love with the sport of football and moved to the States so he can sort of chase that dream. And, well, he's got a lot of ability. You can see the gym. You can see the size is there. He has 93 throw power, 86 short and medium accuracy with a pretty decent speed. Kilgo is a guy to look out for. I know the top guys like Madu and Sherry and Brock are going to get a lot, and there's even Perry ahead of him. But a 3-star Athia Kilgo could be a demon. He's an option king as well. I would like to see what he can do in time. He's got the size. If he really comes into his ability, I know he picked up the game late, but could be a difference maker. Currently, we're the only team also offering a scholarship for him, and I think that's hurting teams like Syracuse, who could really get Kilgo. Hopefully nobody else offers him a deal, but it's still early on. But one of the more interesting stories around the country this year. Only 2 more guys to take a look at. Dakota Merling up next, the right tackle from Mount Airy High School. We offered him a scholarship, I think, this week, which is why we're a little bit down. Currently, NC State and Coastal Carolina are fighting for him. Hopefully we can join that race because he's got pretty good pass blocking traits. I know run block is not very good as well as the strength, but hey, you got a good skill set in the pass blocking, so why not try to get into that race? And the final guy is another athlete, Preston Maddox, a 6'1", 214. He's more of a wide receiver-ish kind of build, though, currently attending Chapman High School, which is actually where South Carolina Gamecock Debo Samuel went to high school, and he's kind of a big name around these parts, tearing it up with the San Francisco 49ers. We're the only team offering him a scholarship. You know, he's got 90 acceleration, kind of also raw as well. He can go up and make the grab, though, with that 80 spec catch and the 88 jumping. So I'd like to see what he can do. He has some skill sets, and we'll see if we can maybe mold him if we recruit him. So that's all the guys we're offering points into. There's also 7 more guys, but I won't really talk about them today. I'm sure we'll talk about them later in the year if they don't commit. But those are the prospects for today. Let me know in the comments section below who is your top prospect to take a look at. It'd be great to land, especially like a great quarterback, especially for when Reno moves on. But we'll see. So next week we have the Georgia Bulldogs on the docket. So now we go ahead and simulate the week, and we get some good news. Juan Gallegos actually commits right now, so we get the 4-star wide receiver from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And that's not the only one. Shaquille Brock from Irmo is in the house. He's committed to the Gamecocks. So we get 2 huge skill position players. Unfortunately, we do lose out on David Fortunato to the Georgia Bulldogs, who we'll actually see next week. Take a look at some of the stories. We see the Heisman race followed by rivals Florida and Auburn going at it this week. Georgia actually loses before their matchup against us to Oklahoma, so they're going to be real happy to face us this week. And then Missouri upsets Tennessee despite a good game from Lenore's Sellers. So let's take a look at the scores around Week 7. On Thursday, Oregon did beat Maryland in the Big Ten, and then UAB holds on to a top 10 spot with a victory over Charlotte. Texas A&M takes care of Vanderbilt pretty handily. Getting into Saturday, Tennessee does lose to Missouri, so the defending champs go down to Mizzou. We see Miami take care of business against FAU. Arkansas State, over Southern Miss. Baylor with a nice victory over Oklahoma State. And then it's Syracuse over Virginia Tech on the road. Auburn knocked off LSU. The Tigers, battle of the Tigers, Auburn that is, still undefeated. Wyoming over UTEP. And then USF in a low-scoring battle knocks off Navy 17-3. Louisville 27-7 over Cal, staying 4-0 in the ACC. And Clemson dominates Florida State. The Tigers back up to the number 3 ranking despite being 4-2. Rutgers in a low-scoring battle with the point over Nebraska. Liberty undefeated, still not ranked. They beat Kennesaw State 24-6. Arizona State wins by 18 over Cincinnati. Duke gets beat on the road against San Diego State. Ouch. New Mexico knocks off San Jose State 35-27. Buffalo doubles up Central Michigan in the MAC. Memphis goes down to Tulsa. Remember when I said Memphis could be a team to beat in the AAC? I think I lied. Iowa State gets a nice road victory over the Mountaineers. Michigan holds on to that number 1 spot with a road victory against Indiana. 2 teams that are winless in the ACC. Stanford gets their first, 28-21. Boston College takes care of Virginia. Western Kentucky on the road over Louisiana Tech. The Battle of the Belt is South Alabama with a touchdown victory over Troy. NC State up to 18 with a victory over Pitt, who's quickly fallen out of the rankings. Washington is your winners of the Apple Cup this year. Marshall over App State on the road. Arkansas upsets Florida, so the Gators go down 28-22. Wake Forest, the team that has not won a game this year, upsets Georgia Tech. College football sometimes makes absolutely zero sense. Penn State, nail-biter, beats Illinois. Georgia, we saw lose to Oklahoma. Louisiana destroys Monroe 45-21. Iowa now in the top 10 with a big matchup against Michigan this week. They beat Minnesota. Colorado loses one at home to TCU. Utah over UCF. And we see Alabama take care of business against the ranked Rebels still. Kentucky up to number 23. They beat Mississippi State. We're their only loss, which is kind of a good win for us. USC in the game of the week goes to South Bend and beats the Fighting Irish 36-24. Arizona State puts up 52 against Houston. Nevada with a close one over Air Force. Purdue loses to Michigan State. Not been a good year for the Boilermakers. BYU wins by a point. They're up to number 4 now in the rankings. Northwestern beats Wisconsin. UMass blanks UConn 31-0. Jacksonville State loses to Sam Houston 42-38. East Carolina over North Texas. And then Temple loses to Tulane at home. Here are your players of the week. Kamar Mathuti gets 5 sacks for the Ducks in their victory against the Terrapins, and a good game for Nico Wynn. In the SEC, LJ McCray gets it. His stat line last week was way better, and he didn't get it, but he gets it this week nonetheless. Lenore Sellers with a great game, and surprisingly enough, both these players actually lost their game. Here's a look at the new rankings. Clemson out to 3 despite being 4-2. I think that's a little generous for the Tigers, but Georgia falls to 11. I think they're still a team to look out for, obviously. Notre Dame down to 14, Tennessee down to 17. NC State jumps all the way up to 18th, being in the ranks with the victory over Pitt and a couple of other teams in the fray for the first time. Here are your big games this week. Iowa, like I said, will host number 1 Michigan, Alabama and Texas in the big SEC clash, as well as Auburn and Florida. And then the Big 12 and 4 BYU will travel to number 22 Arizona State in the Sun Devils. And obviously we have a huge game ourselves this week going between the hedges to face the number 11 Georgia Bulldogs, a team that is now going to be angry after losing their first game of the season. They were my preseason national championship favorites, and well, with that being said, it's not going to be easy because they were the national championship favorites in my book. I think they are beatable, but the thing that does scare me is their defense. So we've seen our offense not be able to step up to the challenge, and are afraid with all the talent that the Bulldogs have on defense, that could be the case again. I think our defense can hold our own, but we're going to need the offense to do their part if we want to win this game. We'll see in the next episode. But thank you guys so much for watching this one. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.